Welcome back to TuckerAllen Live. I'm Scott Trout, as always, on Friday, your moderator for a short 10, 15 minutes where we're going to talk about issues for estate planning and elder law. And we're always joined by one of the attorneys from TuckerAllen. And today we're joined by Kevin Mason up in the Kansas City area. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today, Scott.
Well, thanks as usual. On Friday at 1 o'clock on Facebook, we like to try to just give a few bits of information for everyone about estate planning. And today we want to talk about something I've been thinking about, and it's actually good timing, and that is estate planning for younger families. And, I mean, it's a tough word and subjective, younger families, right? But it's, those maybe with kids, and that's always something that you need to be thinking about in this really era. And that really is concerning because you've got COVID. We're on the tail end and we're not quite out of it, right? And so I guess the question really becomes, what, do families do? There's a difference, you think about estate planning passing away. Well, that's something I want to talk about. But really what happens when you get sick, and what do you do, and what can or what should younger families do, whether it's a single mom, a single dad, or two parents, whatever it is? What should they really be thinking about when they're getting sick, and not necessarily when we talk about death?
Sure. So like you said, we are on the tail end of things here, hopefully with this, but I still, like I'm sure lots of people do know people that are getting sick still. And like you're saying, if you're a single parent and you get sick, and, I've had friends that have had to go to the hospital for, a handful of days because of this. And I know some that were there for longer than a handful of days. If whenever it's something where it's like, oh, you're going to be for just a couple days, maybe that it's going to take to get you back on your feet, that's not as big of a deal. But whenever we start thinking like maybe a week or 2 weeks, or, there's physical therapy involved, there's just more than just I got the wind knocked out of me because I had a bad cold or whatever. But then that's a time to start thinking about like, hey, do we have guardians in place for our children? Because a guardian doesn't have to be there just for whenever you pass away. That guardian can step into a role while you're still alive and you're healthy, or I'm sorry, healthy might not have been the correct word there, but you're still alive and you're working your way back to healthy. But like you're saying, you're that single parent and it's difficult for you. You can't take the kids to school. You can't do stuff while you're recovering yourself. Then whenever you have the guardians already in place, they can step into that role for you there for a week or a month or 2 months and let you recover, get back on your feet, and then things go straight back to normal. So it's definitely not all about, that worst case scenario. It's just wise to have this in place. Like we're saying, COVID, a car accident, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything, right? COVID just becomes convenient
Yes.
for us to talk about, right? I mean, it's like we use it for every excuse in the world.
Mm-hmm.
We use it to describe every natural disaster at this point. But it really could be families in their 20s, or parents in their 20s, 30s, or 40s. When we talk about young, and that's what I'm thinking. As you're not thinking about dying. But right. COVID does remind us, or anything. It could be, whatever puts you in the hospital. And you don't have to have stuff, right? I mean, that's the thing is I think that the mistake people make when they're younger, 20s, 30s, and 40s, they may think, well, I don't have enough to worry about estate planning. And that's something that that's for things where people have a lot of stuff. And I think that's just misinformation. And what we're talking about, and I think in terms of the planning, is powers of attorney, healthcare stuff, directives, people that can make decisions for you if you get sick or if you become incapacitated. And look, we just know someone who's younger, or I do, that just got, COVID and went downhill really quickly, and they're younger and they had stuff ready. They had powers of attorney, healthcare directives, financial, people, boom, could take care of it. And that's where I think it's important to talk about where we say estate planning for young families or younger people. You don't have to have a family either. You could be single. You could be no kids. So, I mean, that's important to talk about, right?
Absolutely. So, like whenever you're saying you're thinking about younger as, 20s, 30s, 40s, on my end, whenever I think about younger families, I'm thinking about people that they could be in their 50s or 60s, but they still have children that are under 18, they've got the child that's still under the age of majority. So I would, whenever, if you're a parent and you've got a child who's under 18. I don't think the most important part, is going to be your maybe your assets. I think the most important part is going to be, let's get stuff set up for that child or children who are under the age of 18. Let's make sure we have the guardianship in place. Let's get that taken care of on their end, and then let's worry about the assets later. And like you're saying, also for a single person, I don't have any children. I'm not married. I would be a single person, but I've got all my stuff lined out. I've talked to my sister about it. I make sure she has my power of attorney, or she has a lot of stuff actually. But it's good to have that lined out, because I don't live right next to any of my family. So if something ever happened, though, she knows where. We've talked about the go binder. Yes, but I've talked to her about that, and I've said, hey, Jenny, you know where it is. You've got a thumb drive at your house right now that's ready to go. So it just, it puts me in a better position, because if something ever happened to me, I would want her to be able to pay my bills. And but yeah, whenever I'm thinking of that young family, though, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about people with younger children, and what are things that we need to prepare for them. And I would say, far and away, that most important document for them is that guardianship, for where we can decide, who do we want to have take care of the children, because that's why they're there in the first place. They want to protect their kids.
Yep. And I'm watching, right now, just looking on Facebook. If you have questions, certainly ask us any questions you've got. But let's talk about if young parents pass away. You said guardians. So tell me a little bit about that when they pass away. What's, should they be thinking about? What should they be doing?
Sure. So with the guardianship, whenever I'm meeting with the client who has young children and they're thinking about who they want to have as the guardian for their child or children, I want them to choose somebody, that has similar morals to them, that's going to raise their children in a similar way that they would raise them. And that's not always a family member, there's families have differences of opinions all the time. So sometimes it's a close friend, so it's just, that's what I want them to think about, is hey, who's somebody that you trust, who's someone that, that has similar morals to you, that's going to do things similar to you. And then kind of just the other thing that I like to just mention to people too, whenever we're choosing guardians, is hey, let's name one guardian instead of naming the couple, because, people get divorced, and we, if you love both people in this couple, but let's go ahead and just choose one of them just in case that happens. So that's just another thing that I like to have people think about. And, within that guardianship, within a document like this, we are able to tailor it so much for that young parent. We're able to, faith is important to a lot of people, whatever faith they have, but it's important to them. Maybe they would like their child to be going to a parochial school, or they would like them to be involved in some sort of, maybe there's a church or something, whatever it is faith-wise that they would like them to be involved in. Or maybe, the guardian, let's say their grandparents, they live in KC over here, and the grandparents live in Virginia. The grandparents are not the guardians, but you still want your children to spend time with the grandparents. So I can put that right in the document and say hey, Thanksgiving, Christmas, at least 1 week during the summer, we want to make sure that these children are going to get to spend time with their grandparents, or whoever it is. It could be anyone.
I wasn't really avoiding it, but I'm pretty good at procrastinating. I needed a trust. When I found TuckerAllen, all our questions were answered, all of our fears allayed.
You want your wishes in place, so there's no guessing, no stress on the children.
Basically, they talk about what you need, what's important to you. It was more conversational, really very simple.
So one of the questions, we talked already about that estate planning isn't just for death, right? And it isn't. And that's I mean, I was talking to my 26-year-old son, and he on the same kind of thought process. Well, one, I don't have any property, and two, I don't care. I'm not going to die. Well, I'm like, look, if you become disabled, I want to be able to go to your bank account. I want to be able to make decisions for you, pay your bills. I can't do that unless you execute it. So that trying to get that across is key. But what should young parents be asking, I guess, or about when they think about this process, life insurance, all kinds of, what should they be asking themselves?
Sure. So I think there's some, there's some questions that maybe aren't the most fun to think about, but that's what we're doing. That's just, it's the unfortunate truth is we have to, but the beauty in that is that whenever we plan for these contingencies and we ask these hard questions, then it's over with, we have it taken care of. So, like a life insurance policy would be a good one to talk about, is like, what do we want to have happen to that? Because, whenever you're talking about a younger family, if one of the spouses, passed away and the other spouse, they might remarry, and so what do we want to have happen with that life insurance policy whenever they remarry? A lot of times, I think people would like either the spouse to remain in sole possession of that money that came from the life insurance, or maybe we want to have it set aside for children or whatever it is, because like we talked about earlier, there's always the potential that someone can remarry and then get a divorce. And do we really want the life insurance policy to get split and a divorce? That's not something we want. So those are all just things we need to kind of take into account. And we just want to create plans for right now so we don't have to think about it later. It's already taken care of. And just like you were saying just a second ago, I feel like we talk about POAs a lot, but that's just because how important they are, That would be another one that for young parents, if you're going to do anything, make sure you get those POAs taken care of and get the guardianship.
It's an easy decision. I mean, because it's the least complicated item that you can do with them, probably some equal effect,
Oh yeah.
You deal with it every day where you have clients come in the door and you talk about POAs, dealing with healthcare decisions and financial decisions, and you can get that done. And there's peace of mind knowing that if something were to happen now, whether I get in an accident or whether I get COVID and I'm in the hospital, someone can take care of my things and all the paperwork, and I don't have to worry about it. I mean, that I can tell you from not only my peace of mind if I'm the one that is signing it, but from the people, your family, your friends, whoever you designate to handle, it is comforting to know that you don't have to stress about how to get something accomplished, right?
No, absolutely. I think that's such a huge relief for people, is that if something does happen, like you're saying, that car accident or whatever it is, something occurs, now we don't have to scramble. Everything is right where it should be. We have those agents already in place for like the power of attorneys, like you're talking about. The agent is just the person who's acting on your behalf so they can pay your bills or help make decisions with the doctors based off of what you would want. And I could never overstate how important a power of attorney is. Yeah. And like you're saying, they're cheap, they're very quick to get done, and for the cost and ease of doing a POA, they outpunch in what they can do for you. They're light years ahead of that.
Not a lot of planning. It's who do you want to take care of your financial stuff? Who do you want to make your medical decisions? Boom, done. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get to it. We'll get it printed out. We'll draft it for you. We'll get it signed and send you on your way and put it in the go box and you're good to go. So
yep, absolutely.
So, a lot of as we get close to wrapping up here is families will say, well, we're not done growing yet. We've got one kid, we're going to have a couple kids. That's where the legacy protection program we've talked about every week comes into play, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you have the legacy protection program, I would say is fantastic for a young family like this, because whenever maybe I drafted a trust document for them or a will document, I'm going to say in the document, I will say, this includes any afterborn children. So I have that, kind of catch-all sentence in there for it. But I would much rather have you come back and say, oh, hey, we had this child, this is their birth date, here's their full legal name, and then I can put them into the document with the rest of the children. And, that's something that's easy for me to do. It's free with the legacy protection program. And now we don't have to rely on this sentence that's acting as a catch-all. Now there's no reliance on that, which is, I don't want to have to rely on that. And I don't think you do either. So, and there's just, maybe as the children grow up too, you might want to change and make some of them. Maybe one of your children, they become a nurse or a doctor or something. They would be in a great position to be your healthcare power of attorney. Or one of them's a banker. They would be fantastic for that durable power of attorney.
Yeah.
So just there's lots of things like that, I think, that help, make sense for the LPP program.
Well, Kevin, you kind of set the standard that estate planning isn't just for one person, one class, one age group.
No.
As you get older, that you can put off. It's for everyone. I mean, really is for everyone. And I think that's the one positive that COVID brought to light, is that we all need to take steps. We all need to do something to protect ourselves, our family, our kids, our loved ones, our friends, and our stuff, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Kevin, thanks again for joining us on Tucker Allen Live here on Facebook. Look forward to next time. You can have a consult with Kevin and some of the other attorneys at Tucker Allen by going to TuckerAllen.com. You can book your appointment online right there, whether you're in the Kansas City metro area or in the St. Louis metro area. There's someone around there to serve you. So check us out at TuckerAllen.com. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Also check out and register for our virtual town hall coming up this month. We want to see you then, where you can ask questions live and get answers right then and right there from the Tucker Allen attorneys. So until next Friday, we'll see you again at 1 o'clock Central Time. Have a great weekend.